So one of the biggest things about living a little bit further from town is taking into consideration the commute times. So I live in Star, Idaho currently, and I have a 9 o'clock meeting in Meridian. So let's leave from my house. I'm pulling out of my garage right now. You're gonna have to pardon me if this falls over. I just have you on a tripod riding shotgun in my truck. So let's go on this drive and see how long this is gonna take me. My Bluetooth does not seem to be hooking up to the truck, so I'm not exactly sure the direction we're heading, so you might have to bear with me here for a moment. Oh, I'm not on Bluetooth. Hold the phone, friend. Let's see what's going on here. Sorry about that. So we just had to hopefully connect back to the Bluetooth here on the truck. As mentioned, I am pulling out of my driveway. I have a meeting in Meridian. Currently live in Star, Idaho. And I think commute times are a big thing to consider when you're thinking about moving to the suburbs of Boise. Okay, I think we just got some service here, just connected to the old phone. Hang on a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you see I've got like 30 minutes to go to where I'm going to. So we live in Collina Vista. It's a little community here in Star. We're off of New Hope in Roseland. So it is currently 8:30 in the morning. You can see I easily pulled out of my subdivision. I'm getting absolutely blinded by the sun. It's a beautiful day. It's March. It's typically cold and possibly snowy this time of year, but spring has sprung here in Idaho this year. So I just gonna talk, and just you guys are coming with me on this meeting, or to this meeting rather. I'm not gonna bring you inside. I just want everybody to see how long it takes to actually get places, because I think that's an important thing. They are currently working on the power lines here in Star, so I am stopped at a little road stop. Got some kind city workers holding up a stop in all three ways. Oh, they let someone go, so we will be back to our regularly scheduled program here in a minute or two. Oh, I got passed. They're gonna let somebody else go. We're third. Oh, he went right, so we're gonna get to go soon, I think. Here we go. We're moving again. Yeah, so this road that we live off of, New Hope, all the subdivisions are on the north and south side, and I've seen a lot of interesting videos that suggest there's a lot of traffic. It is spring break, so there could possibly be less people on the road, but you can see as of this moment, I'll turn this forward, there's a truck in front of me, and it looks like there might be, I don't know, 2 cars behind me. Again, this is spring break, so it could be a little bit more trafficy, normal time of the year. But let's just keep driving. Let's see what we get here. So one of the cool things about Star, it's very family friendly. My family and my wife and I have been married 9 years this month actually, and we have literally moved all over. We've moved 7 times. Before my wife and I were together, I lived in southeast Boise. I'm from Florida originally, and I relocated to Boise from the Portland area for work. One of my college friends and his wife were kind enough to let me rent a room from them and just kind of get a lay for the area. And I always wanted to live downtown, so I was just looking for rentals. It was going to kind of be a more permanent. I wasn't sure actually if I was going to stay here or go back. I had businesses at the time, and I think the plan was to sell them and move back to Florida. But in the meantime, I was going to get a place to live. So I started just driving around and just kind of seeing, where I wanted to live. And being a younger professional that was single, I gravitated towards downtown. I wanted to live downtown Boise. And back then, gosh, rents were $1,000. You could pretty much live anywhere in the valley for around $1,000, 2-bedroom place. So I was looking downtown, and it was very competitive at the time, probably due to the price, and people were just, I couldn't get a good place, honestly, and I ended up calling on a place on a rental in my friend and his wife's community in Southeast Boise, and talked to an agent, and we linked up, told the guy what was going on. Okay, side on that. So I just pulled up to Highway 16, if you can see this. So this is going to be a game changer for everyone that lives in Emmett, Star, all these places out here, because this interstate is going to run from here. We're almost headed to Highway 44, also known as State Street. It's going to run us from State Street all the way to 84, which is our big interstate that's going to run east and west. And you can take this guy from Caldwell, Nampa, runs into Oregon, all the way to Boise. So as soon as this highway is complete, I think it's going to be an absolute game changer. It's going to cut the commute times down to the interstate by about, gosh, they're saying it's only going to take 8 to 10 minutes from State Street, which is the intersection that we're about to get to. So my daughter does tumbling over in Meridian, and we have to take Chinden. We take 16 to Chinden to 10 Mile, and 10 Mile to the interstate. I think it took like 22 minutes the other day. It's lighter traffic, and they're saying that this is going to take 8 to 10 minutes. So this will easily cut 10 to 12 minutes off of your commute time if you were someone that did need to get to the interstate to either commute to work, or even if you are going to go to the airport, which in my neighborhood alone, there's a lot of people that commute back and forth from different states. They still have jobs that allow them to work a handful of days on and have a handful of days off, and they've chosen to move here for quality of life, which I know that's why I moved out of Florida many, many years ago and moved to Oregon, was quality of life. I had opportunity in a state that wasn't my home state, and I did what people have done for decades and centuries. You move. If where you're living isn't a good fit, or there's a better opportunity elsewhere, that's what we do. We pack our bags, and we hope, and we absolutely just go for it, right? And I think that's totally natural. So my GPS has me taking a different way. We're going to get on state, but I'm going to turn the camera because it's a red light and it's going to be safe to do so. So this is State Highway 44, also known as State Street. And you can see this guy runs east and west, and 16 runs north and south. So this is going to be the interchange. And what they're doing here is absolutely massive. Like, you can see the rocks over there. It's going to be literally like, just this guy's going to think I'm a character, but we'll do it anyways. So you can see over here too, it's going to be just absolutely insane how big this is going to be. It's do a little bit of research on it. Maybe I'll do a video on that too, to kind of give you guys the scale of what this is going to be for this part of town. Like I said, it's going to connect Emmett, Star. There's a big community up the interstate. It's called Villanova. It's going to be a master community, thousands and thousands of homes. These guys range anywhere from the fours for smaller homesteads to multi-million-dollar bigger homes with view lots. It's absolutely insane. So anyways, back on the story. I end up calling on a property in Southeast Boise to rent, because all the properties downtown that I was viewing, it was competitive, and honestly a lot of stuff was just, it was old. I mean, this was, gosh, 13 years ago, 12 years ago. I think I moved here in 2014. It was 12 years ago, and a lot of the stuff wasn't updated yet. All the new flashy buildings, they had not been, they weren't here yet. So you had a lot of older stuff, right? It was just kind of a sleepier town. And yeah, so I call on a rental in my friend and his wife's neighborhood in southeast Boise, and I spoke to a realtor, nice guy, told him the scenario. So I moved here from Portland, as I stated earlier, for work. I had a business here in the valley, in the Boise Town Square Mall, actually. That's why I moved here. And I told the agent that, he's like, hey, what's going on? And I told him, yeah, I was informed because I had a property in Portland. It was my first property that I ever bought, and I decided to rent it out. I got advice from a Keller Williams agent who helped me purchase the property, and she just advised me to rent it out. She said the market in Portland, it was heating up, and I built a house there to live in. The plan was to be in Portland for a decade or so, and as things happen, life throws curveballs at you. I think I ended up living in the house for maybe 8 months, 10 months, and I moved here to Boise for work. So when I got here, I was in touch with my bank because I was under the impression that's what you do when you're getting a mortgage. You go talk to your local credit union, your Bank of America, Wells Fargo, etc. And because the way they underwrite people, it's more of like a cookie cutter process. They weren't going to count the rental income that I was getting from that property in Portland. So I was told that my debt to income ratio was out of whack. I now know differently. I know to work with mortgage brokers and all the things to get qualified, all the tips, the tricks, kind of things that I've learned over my real estate investing career. So anyways, I'm speaking to this agent, and he tells me about a community that he is helping develop in Garden City. There was a small infill deal. It was a townhome, and I told him I had good credit and I could likely put 20% down. And back then, I think I got this property for like 160 grand. This was in like 2014, I believe. And it was in Garden City. So I go look at the property, and the price was obviously right. It was brand new construction, LVP flooring, level 1 granite. It's literally a stone's throw from the Greenbelt, and it felt like there was going to be change, right? Like, so I'm from Florida originally, a small town. I went to college in Jacksonville, northern Florida, which is a gigantic city. And then I lived in Portland. I traveled for work. So I was familiar with bigger cities and kind of having an eye for what an area is going to become. So for context, when I drove up to this new infill development, it's in Garden City. I still have the property today. It's off of 51st Street. And it's a pumpkin patch neighborhood. It still is, right? When you pull in, there's a trailer park on the left-hand side, and then on the right, there's an older gentleman, and I believe he owns pretty much the whole, like, gosh, what direction is that? The whole east side of 51st Street. His house is up front. Then he has a bunch of land. I've seen him just growing vegetables and fruit and also chicken. He's got just I never spoke to him. I probably should have, but just seemed to be a cool guy, and he had a cool piece of real estate. Besides the point. So I go look at this property. Like I said, it's literally, for you golfers out there, I mean, you could hit a lob wedge from the garage and land on the Greenbelt. Probably a sand wedge, like a half swing too. Like it's it's close. You're probably, gosh, from the front of the community to the greenbelt, you're maybe, I don't know, 40, 50 yards. So you're killer location. So I look at this property and I had a feeling that this place was gonna, I thought it was worth it, right? Like I was single at the time. I didn't really care that, you know, you had to drive by trailers, because I was getting an awesome new construction property with a killer location right off the greenbelt, the Boise River area. And the price was lower than the stuff in like Southeast Boise and other parts of town. And even better than that, the builder was willing to do an owner carry. So it checked all those boxes. And I remember, so prior to speaking to the agent that told me about the community, there was, gosh, I can't even remember the realtor's name, but I believe the gal lived in Emmett and she managed a bunch of properties in Boise proper. And she was like, I went through the whole process, right? Like she had a copy of my ID, you know, my credit, etc. And she was letting me self-tour properties. So she was just like, you know, you can go look at 123 Main Street. The lockbox code is 234. You know, you can look at 278 Main Street, etc., etc. So I was doing this. I had a pretty good relationship with the lady. You know, we were talking for, I don't know, I was trying to just kind of just take my time to get the right place, because I wanted to live in the right area. And I was dealing with the lady for over a month, I would say. And so I call her. Again, I don't remember her name, and even if I did, it doesn't matter. I call her and I say, hey, Mrs. Agent, I really appreciate you allowing me to go on all the properties you're managing. I found a property in Garden City, and the builder, it's like a small infill deal. What do you think of it? And she just absolutely trashed Garden City. She's like, oh, that's garbage city. Like, you don't want to live there. You know, bad things happen there. Yada yada. And I was like, oh wow, like, and I took what she said into consideration. I gave her a little pushback, and I said, hey, look, you know, I've lived in bigger towns. This place, like Garden City, for those of you that don't know, it's right along the river. It is, I don't know how it was overlooked as long as it was, with the real estate that it has and the prices how they used to be. Now there's stuff insane, $1 million. Like, it's absolutely insane what everywhere in the valley has become. But that's neither here nor there. So I lean in on the lady, and I'm, you know, hey, you know, Mrs. Agent, do you think that this is going to be something long term, right? Because like I plan on keeping this if I buy it. Like, I'm not gonna, you know, no way, it's Garden City, garbage city, like trash. You don't want to, you know, you don't want to buy there. Just all negative, and it kind of sunk with me a little bit, and I wasn't sure really, right? Like, because I had only lived here, gosh, I don't even know how long at this point, but I had visited. I had a business in the Boise Town Square Mall, so I was semi-familiar with that area, with like West Boise area and Southeast, obviously where my friend lived, and I wasn't sure what to think or do. So needless to say, I ended up thanking her for her time, and I just wanted to push through with it. Like, it seemed like the right thing to do. So I did it, right? Like, sometimes you have to take a chance and you have to bet on yourself. And again, being that I had lived in bigger cities and just kind of having a different perspective, I went for it, and I bought the property. I had some super cool neighbors. One of my neighbors, oddly enough, so bought this property in 2014. I bought a center unit property, which, you know, to go back in time, I may not have done that, right? For obvious reasons. If you've ever lived in townhomes or apartments, if you can be on the outside or the top, that's kind of the way to go. But again, didn't have the knowledge and experience that I have now, and the price was right, so I went for it. Middle unit, I believe it was like 159 grand or so. And my two neighbors, super cool guys. Also, my one neighbor on the one side, single guy. My other neighbor on the other side, he was a separated gentleman. He had two young kids that he had, I think he got them every other weekend or something, but it was just a good setup, right? Like, newer to town, bought a property, just kind of living the dream. It was really cool. And so this is 2014. Fast forward to this year, it's 2026. I now live in Star, as I told you guys. That's the purpose of this, is to show you the commute time to where I'm going in Meridian. It's about a half an hour. So oddly enough, my wife and I, we buy in Star, Idaho in October of 25. And you know how every community these days has a Facebook group. So we joined the Facebook group, and we're in there, and randomly my neighbor, the one gentleman that was a single guy from back in 2014, I see him commenting in the Facebook community group, asking something about, gosh, I think it was like installing like a mini split or something in his garage or something. Anyways, doesn't really matter what the post is. It's just super funny because this is my first neighbor of the first property that I bought here in the Treasure Valley. Just a super good guy. He and he lives in the same community, right? He has 3 children, two daughters and a son, and his kids are peppered around my children's age. My girls, for context, they are 5 and 8. And that's another reason we wanted to move to Star. I started driving out there to show clients properties, and my wife starts sending me listings, and I'm like, who are these for? And she's like, us. And so at the time we lived in Northwest Boise. For those of you that aren't familiar, they just put Fire Station 13 in Northwest Boise. It's 83714 zip code, so it's kind of like a garden city, but it's in that zip code there's like different parts, and if you're on the north or south part of State Street, you're either in like Boise or Garden City. So anyways, we lived in Northwest Boise, and it was a smaller community. Super cool house, but once they put Fire Station 13 in on the corner there, after going to some of the meetings for the community, I quickly realized that they were changing the zoning of a lot of the land there. So there's a lot of like cows and stuff. Like, a lot of people have 5-10 acre parcels, so it's not really that dense. And after going to these meetings, I learned that now that the fire station was in, it seemed like they were gonna really allow some heavier development and just the density that's taking place in town. So we lived in a, gosh, I think it's like a 22, like a smaller, like single family infill property area subdivision. There's only like 22 or something properties in it. Super good area, right by a park. Right, you could walk. Our daughter went to Shadow Hills Elementary School. We could walk her to school. There was a little lake. And the main reason that I liked it is because, so we were right by Eagle Bike Park. If you're into biking or hiking or any of that stuff, it's a really cool area. And you could also bike to Siemens Gulch. So you could hike, bike those areas. And I was a big mountain biker, so I didn't really have any intention of moving to Star. And then oddly enough, I injured my knee, and I haven't really been able to bike since. So when my wife is sending me these listings, I Sorry, I just got a notification on my... So my wife's sending me these listings for Star, and that's it. Okay. And prior to the injury, I probably would have like just written it off, you know. But since I had the injury, and I don't know, I'm just open-minded with real estate. Like, again, we've moved 7 times in 9 years. We're always just kind of looking for value, right? Like, we've always tried to just do what's best for our family, and I don't know, just buy in the path of progress. Just, it's kind of part of our strategy. But I don't know, we just kind of wanted a community or a place where we could kind of settle some more roots. We started thinking more about homeschooling just for personal reasons. And the house we lived in, it was an awesome house, and obviously you make whatever you have work. And I always wanted to move closer to like Bogus Basin Road. We ski and stuff, so I wanted to live closer to that direction. But you know, your goals change, your life changes, you have kids, you want to do what's best for your family ultimately. So when my wife sent me these listings, these properties, I don't know, kind of just started thinking a little differently. We started driving out there, and it was, I mean, it's a little bit further from town, right? Like, we've been driving now for, gosh, how long have we been going here? 25 minutes. So it's definitely a little bit further, but as far as like for what we wanted for our family, for just quality of life and community and stuff, like, I'm telling you, it checks the boxes. It's absolutely insane. So we got there middle of October, like I said, and we decided just to trick or treat in our neighborhood. We didn't know any neighbors yet, or right, like, we didn't know any other families, or the girls didn't know any friends. And we walked around, and I was blown away by how many people were trick-or-treating in this community. It was really cool. I grew up, right, like, I'm 42, I turned 43 this year, so it reminded me of like my childhood in Florida in the 90s, when just, right, like, it felt safe is what I'm getting at. Like, my parents used to just let me ride my bike all over the town, and just, it was a different time, you know. And I'm not saying it's not safe now, but we keep an eye on our kids, right? Like, I'm sure a lot of people do, and we just want what's best for our children, and the community just checked the boxes. So anyways, kind of got ahead of myself there. My wife sent me these listings, had the knee injury, and we decide to, I'm like, you know what, let's do it. Let's check out Star. Let's go out there. So we're getting out there, we're looking, we're driving around, and I felt like I was in like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, because there was literally just tons of families outside, kids playing the like drive slow, kids live here, signs everywhere, American flags. Just, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been to Star, but I'm gonna take a stab and say, like, Star per capita has the most American flags hanging from homes that I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it's just crazy. Hang on, let me see what this person's talking about. Whoa, so that just stopped my video mid-keel. That was unfortunate. So anyways, yeah, we're driving around in Star, and everyone's super happy, everyone's pumped, and it kind of seemed fake, honestly. I felt like, I don't know, it was like Stedford Wife vibes, right? Like, everyone's smiling, like, people are happy, kids are outside, just tons of kids. So I pulled one of my favorite moves on my wife, and I pull up to a neighborhood, or a random neighbor's house, and I roll her window down. She's riding shotgun, and talk over her. I don't know if anybody else does that, but that's what I did, and she absolutely loves it when I do that, right? Like, I'm kidding, by the way. And I'm talking to the neighbors, and they're just, you know, asking them what they like about the neighborhood, and just they like the community, they like how kid-friendly it seemed. They mentioned, feels safe. There's a mix of people that I spoke to asking them where they're from, right? Like, I didn't know if they moved from a different state, so they had different perspectives in that sense. Some yes did move, and same with the community that we live in Collina Vista. Some people are from out of state, but there's a lot of people that moved from Meridian, people from Boise, and it kind of seems the same, right? Like, people just wanted a tighter community. They wanted a place where their kids could grow, and just they felt safe with their kids, and I'm not saying Boise isn't safe. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. It's just, as the city gets bigger and it gets more dense, there's just more people. And Star has approximately 20,000 residents, plus or minus. And obviously it's getting a lot of hype. It's growing. There's new communities popping up. And in the residential space and in the commercial space, there's a lot of, there's a lot going on, right? Like, it's really growing, and the more residential rooftops, the more commercial stuff we get. So we talked to these couple neighbors, couple random people in communities, and they just had nothing but good stuff to say about it. So we were in a community, and we asked them what, I was like, okay, hey, I get it. Like, happiest you've ever been. What do you dislike about it, right? Like, it seemed too good to be true, honestly. And I just, being a human being, I needed to know if there were some negatives, or I don't know. I was just curious, right? Like, I heard all these pros, I just needed the cons. Obviously, I knew the distance from where we had lived, and I knew the commute times, right? Like, I'm a realtor, so I'm all over the valley. I don't have to go to an office at a set time. So for me, that didn't really necessarily matter. And the one thing that they said, the community that these particular neighbors lived in, it did not have a pool, which it's not like you can use it year round, right? Like, we're in the water out here in the summer months. So I was like, okay, is there a community that does have a pool that's similar to this? And the lady was like, yeah, just, head up the street and you'll go into this neighborhood. So we drove up the road, and that's when we drove into Collina Vista. It's a Toll Brothers community. My wife and I, we lived in Cuna for a year or so. We still own the property. It's in a Toll Brothers community. So we're very familiar with their product. We think it's a solid product. We still have this property today. It's a phenomenal rental for us. We moved to Cuna before it was cool, right? Like, when we moved to Cuna in 2019, it reminds me a lot of what Star is today, in a sense that it was getting a little bit of hype. It was starting to grow, and it didn't have a lot of like dining options. There was not a ton of like commercial stuff, right? And now, gosh, if you've been to Cuna anytime recently, it is, holy cow. Our rental property out there just turned, and I had to go out there a couple days ago, actually, and check on some stuff that was being done by one of the subcontractors, and holy cow, Cuna. I tell you what, that property we have, though, we're sitting pretty there, right? And that's my point with Star. It is, I think the timing right now in Star is just, it's right. And this is just my opinion. If you talk to 100 people, you're going to get 100 different answers. It's just, for my wife and I, we try to buy value. We really like, as far as the stuff we live in, we're a fan of new construction. And reasons, if you build it, you get to choose it. And secondly, when you have a new home, you're not going to have any major capital expenditures for probably a decade, right? Like, none of the major units are going to go out. The HVAC, pipes probably aren't going to break. You may have an appliance or something randomly go out, but that's not going to kind of sink the boat. yeah, so we drove in, we walk in the house, and my wife, I don't know if any of you guys have been married for, you know, a handful of years. You know, when your wife has that look on her face and you know you're in trouble. That was literally the look that my wife had on her face when we walked in this home. She knew she was home, and I knew we were moving. Well, anyways, you guys, I just got to where I'm going. I think this video clipped out as I responded to a text, so I'm gonna do my best to tie it together, and if not, I will I'll just make 2 videos and you can kind of see. So for context, I drove from my house in Star, Beacon Light and 16 area, and we are now in Meridian off of Eagle Road over here by Topgolf. I think it took about a half an hour to get here, and obviously I was driving super slow, just being careful because I'm talking to the screen. But I hope you got a little bit of value from this. Yeah, I don't know, just if you're thinking of moving here and you're thinking of moving to Star or anywhere, take into consideration the life that you want, right? Like the things that are important to you, where you're gonna work, where you're gonna play, just all the things, what kind of home you wanna live in, all this stuff matters. My wife and I, like I said, we've moved, gosh, 7 times in 9 years, so we've learned a lot. If there's any way that I can help you with my experience as far as like where we've moved, my opinion on places, or just, I don't know, if you want to grab a coffee and just get my perspective, I'd love to help you, love to serve you. My name is Ryan Spath. I am an investor turned agent here in the Treasure Valley, and I'll see you soon.